Kirk.
And this is Byrd. It's the Kirk and Byrd Show. Man, we finally got my man, Coach Daniel Nemerow of the Gainesville girls basketball team. Thank you for joining us, Coach.
Appreciate you guys having me.
Yeah. Hey, Coach. So we were talking about this offline. Just that you actually watched the show. And we hadn't had a chance to, we hadn't had a chance to actually link up, but I've been wanting to have you on for a long time. So thank you. Played a huge game last night. You were in the regional final against Osbourn Park. And it was an extremely close. You guys, I believe you led most. I know you led at halftime, led most of the game. And then they kind of went on a run. But we're going to talk about that game. We'll talk about this season and we'll find out a little bit more about you, okay? Played on last night. Tell us that game. I think the final score was at 60.
62-60.
62-60. Okay, so it was a 2-point game. All right, So you were winning most of the game. It was some big shots hit at the end, but tell us about that game.
First I'll say it's an awesome environment and opportunity for us to be a part of. I think that Chrissy has done such a good job of setting sort of a standard for what girls basketball could and should be. So for us to be in that situation, we talked a lot to our girls about the opportunity and the privilege that was. As far as the game, they're really good. They're super young. I know that, but they're just so stacked with talent. She does a really good job of getting her kids to play in a way that is difficult to prepare for. We've done everything from play against 7 and 8 people in practice to last year I brought in JV boys basketball players. The hardest part to prepare for a team that plays like that is that we don't play that way. So we used to talk about this when I was on Sherman's staff at Patriot with the boys. Like, we can tell you, Chrissy can tell you what they're going to do to us, but you have to prepare for a game for that kind of pace and pressure is just different. I thought our girls did an outstanding job of handling it for most time. There are going to be turnovers and there are going to be runs. They're a really good team. We had an 8-point lead in the third quarter, and they changed kind of their pressure a little bit. I think the environment got to us a little bit there. The pressure got to us a little bit there. Going to the fourth quarter up 2. I still liked where we were. They had some big shots. It's one of those games where we have a number of players who are I lost this in the game because I did this, that's just not how it works in a game that close in that kind of setting. There are 3 or 4 or 5 plays throughout the game that we could have made, or a ball bounces a different way. I'm incredibly proud of our girls. We lost 10 days ago or whatever it was. We lost to them by 39. It would have been really easy for us to come in and just kind of be like, whatever. But we thought we had a good game plan, and our kids came out and executed as well as we could have hoped. They're really good.
Let me set the stage for folks that may not be aware. You all are 21-6, but 4 of your losses have come to against OP.
Yeah.
So that was 2 regular season, and then the postseason, the district, and now the regionals. And those earlier games were much larger margins, but that environment again setting the stage. It was unbelievable. We were talking about it off camera, and like you said, Coach Kelly mentioned it in the Inside Nova piece. The environment there was electric. Like, your fans were going, their fans. It was loud. In fact, I was recording part of it when I was behind you because I was on both sides behind. Like, Gainesville fans kept standing up. I couldn't get good video, but it was so much fun. So much fun. Talk about that. Now, do you think? I know. I thought. How do these young ladies react in this environment? But I thought they were to me, looked like they had ice water in their veins. They were dropping down. They were hitting the passes, the shooting.
I think some of that is, last year we were 23-5. We lost to Thomas Dale and Osbourn Park 4 times. And we graduated 2 players. We lost another to a private school transfer, but most of the team, 9 of them are returners. So we had been in that kind of environment before. then we tried to challenge our kids as much as we could with our schedule this year. We tried to play in some hostile environments or some different gyms, playing down at Boo Williams and playing in the Sportsplex down there.
Mm-hmm.
She got Game Classic, playing in Madison's tip-off tournament at the beginning of the year. We tried to put ourselves in some environments that were going to be uncomfortable, because we knew that eventually, at least in Cedar Run and probably in Region 6B, everything goes through Manassas at some point. So I think it was more of, our girls have been in enough games with them now that the environment wasn't too big, I don't think. I think, it was really important. We come out and Delaney Gilliam hits 2 threes right away. And it was kind of like everybody was like, cool, we're good. We're here.
Mm-hmm.
I think those, everybody remembers the plays at the end of the game. Delaney coming out and making 2 straight threes to start the game for us was, I think, a statement to the whole gym of like, this is not the game that it was 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
You're in the state tournament now.
Yeah.
What do you think that the fact that, and Rusty pointed out, you played Osbourn Park 4 times and you proved with what you just said that you can play with them? I would think you have a lot of confidence going into the Centreville game with the season that you've had and the way that it's rolled out. And we also talked before I let you respond to that. Like, I think you have a confident team, but also you could hypothetically play Osbourn Park again. And it's, we all know beating a team 5 times, as your buddy, our buddy Sherman Rivers knows, is very hard. But I mean, do you feel like the team's confident?
Well, first, I'd love to find out what that would mean, that we were both in the state championship game playing in VCU. So that would be cool. Yeah, I think our team, I think we're confident. It's funny because I was a boys coach for a really long time. And I think there were times as a boys coach, and I say this as I was a boys player, like where boys can get a little bit cocky and a little bit arrogant and a little bit full of themselves, and it can affect how they play. One of the things that I've tried to do differently as a girls coach is I think the girls actually thrive on understanding what they're capable of and how good they are. I am not shy about telling our kids how good they are. I think it's important for them to know. I told them at the beginning of the season, I said, if you count up all the games it would take to win a state title, there's 30 of them. And I told our players, we're good enough to win 30 games. And I believe that. Every game we've played this year, every loss we've had this year, all of them are winnable games. The talent in our program is really high. And so I don't think it's confident in a bad way or arrogance or anything like that. I think that we have let them know that we are good enough to win every game we play. Centreville is an outstanding team. Full disclosure, in an interview before the season started, I told Spencer Nussbaum at the Washington Post, he said, who else should I be looking at in Northern Virginia? And I said, Centreville is good. He said, he asked me, he's like, what makes them really good? I was like, well, Joe does a really good job and they got really good players. So that's a good recipe.
That's a good, yeah.
But I mean, it's not, we've scrimmaged them, not this year, but the 2 previous years. We play in the same fall league. So it's not like our players and their players are strangers to one another. It'll come down to execution and stuff like that. But at this point, there's 8 teams left out of 59 that started the season. If you aren't confident at this point, you're doing something wrong. I think our girls know how good they are, and know that we can be in every game we play.
Yeah, the electric environment. Centreville is an athletic program that really supports. I saw a bunch of football players at South Lakes on Friday, and by the way, that gym was packed. Rusty, that's the biggest gym around here. That was great. So you're going to have that. You're going to have that this week when you play Centreville. How do you get ready for that? Because the nerves will be there, right?
Yeah.
The way you hit last game, how are you gonna come out there?
I'm hopeful that it's probably about the same as far as minutes drive to Centreville as it is to Osbourn Park. Now, I know we played on a Saturday, and so people don't have to play, but I will be very optimistic that on Tuesday that we can get a good portion of our student body, more of our community, where the community support that our girls get, not just from like their parents and stuff, but like there are recreational teams in our area that come to watch our girls play. So I'm hopeful that we'll be able that we'll travel well. It's 20 minutes up the road. So that's how I'm going to send everybody. It's 20 minutes. Come on.
That's really close. Yeah.
State playoff game.
Yep. Centreville is might as well be Prince William County. Coach, let me. So when we talk about you're in the state quarterfinals. You were in the states last year, and you have some upperclassmen. And we talked about this is only the third. Your school has only been open 3 years. 3 years.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you were thinking we'll be okay, but like this has to have exceeded probably even your expectations. I mean, you said that about the first year, but after that first year, did you think it would be like this?
When we looked at it, I thought year 3 we could be really good. Last year was more the surprise for me, if I'm being honest. I didn't know what we had going into year 1. Year 1 was weird because we were coming off the COVID season. I was at Patriot coaching the boys. I got the girls' job at Gainesville, and somebody was like, "Oh, you guys have Madison McKenzie," and I was like, "I don't know who that is." And they're like, "Well, she plays basketball at Patriot. Don't you coach at Patriot?" But that was the COVID year where we weren't even allowed in the gym at the same time.
That's right.
Like I had never seen. She could have rang my doorbell. I wouldn't know who she was. So then you see her in the gym. And you're like, oh, okay, well,
Right.
be good. So no, I mean, we thought last year we kind of caught lightning in a bottle a little bit and won a bunch of games. This year, we lost Demi Gilliam to Paul VI, but then we gained Layla Abraham, Grace Ellingson, and to go with all the returners that we had. I thought we were going to be really good this year. I really did. I thought we had a lot of the pieces. I thought we had the ability to play a few different ways. Like last time we played OP, not the 39-point loss, but the game before that, we played zone the entire game. Last night we played man the entire game. We have so many pieces right now that, and this is where it kind of gets into what happens at States, is that we have the ability to play a few different ways. And so that gives me some ability, our coaching staff, the freedom a little bit to come up with a game plan and then make the pieces fit, as opposed to make the pieces, have to worry about the pieces first. But now, I am not, it's not lost on me how lucky I am. 3 years in to be as good as we are I said to somebody last night, we've won over 50 games in 3 years, and we just started. I've been incredibly lucky with the girls that have come in, and then with, the work that our coaching staff does with them and just the support of our administration. It's been a pretty awesome opening for sure.
I don't know if you've said it, but I wanted to ask, what were your going into this season, because you made it to say so, what were your team goals going into this year, knowing that you had lost a key player, but you were gaining? So I would say, what were your goals? But another way of phrasing it is, how would you define a successful season? So when it's all said and done, so whether you're walking off that court at VCU with the nets, around your head, or whatever it is, how would you define a successful season?
Man, that's like the hardest thing in sports, right? Like that's like, what was it last year? Giannis got the question of like, is it a failed seain? He's like, how did we fail?
Right.
It's really hard, in each class, only one team wins the last game. I don't know. It's one of those, I don't know how to define success as far as like a number goes. I think our girls getting recognized by the community, by the state, continuing to create a culture that we're trying to create of girls basketball in Gainesville, in Western Prince William County. I think all that sort of goes into a successful season. Our season could have ended last night, and I would tell you it was a success. I don't know that players realize, and maybe ours don't, because it's happened so fast. Winning 20 games in a season, there are really good players who never won 20 games in a season. Like EJ Baltimore was on my coaching staff. He had to come off the staff this year because he got a job that didn't allow him to do it, but he played for me as a player he played for me at Brentsville and then again at Patriot. EJ is one of the better high school basketball players I've ever had the privilege to coach. He never won 20 games. he had a solid college career at Eastern Mennonite and then Shenandoah. The number of players that have been really good and a part of really good teams that never, and we're sitting on back-to-back 20-win seasons. I mean, that's outstanding. As far as goals for the year, I think, there's all sorts of goals we had about, like, points allowed and things like that. I think the biggest goal for us this year is we just wanted to be better than last year.
Mhm.
Obviously the girls want to put a trophy in the case and put a banner on the wall and all that. And I'm with that. Like I'm here for all that. I think we've put ourselves in a position to go with, if we win Tuesday, then we went further than we did last year. And I think you can mark that as a success.
Mhm.
I'm so proud of the work that our girls have put in that, we'll look back at some of the number stuff and see if we satisfied those things. But as far as, the goals that we accomplished this year, I think we've done a lot.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt.
See, I'll say this, Coach. I kind of do this. I read personality a little bit. So the question is this. All right. This is in time, mark this for Gainesville families and the players. Can you win 3 games and win the state championship?
Yeah.
Boom! I'm like,
yeah.
I can't stand when coaches say, I'm going to take this 1 game. No, of course you can win it.
Yeah. If we're not trying to do that, what are we doing?
Yeah, absolutely.
Again, these are conversations we have with our players. Like I don't want to be shy about it. I don't want to beat around the bush. Well, if everything goes the right way, and I understand why coaches or players or teams or parents do that.
Right.
Is it going to be really hard? Yeah, it should be. It should be really hard to win a state title. Do you have to get some breaks and things like? Yeah, sure. But are we good enough to win 3 games in a row? Yeah, we've won 3 games in a row a bunch of times against good teams.
And all 3 of us being Virginia guys, this is a great state for girls basketball. I mean, we've had some of the most amazing players ever come out of the state. And I think the flip side of that, Coach, is you can follow up that question with, can you lose this first game? Absolutely. You come out, you don't execute, you're flat, you make mistakes. And I think that poise and that expectation, but
Centreville has 4 different players that could go for 20 against anybody. They're really good defensively. They've got some really dynamic guards. They've got a big that is outstanding and one of the better athletes that probably in the state of Virginia playing girls basketball. And they're really well coached. So, I mean, yeah. And I think and we'll talk to our players about that. Like, we're good enough to win 3 games in a row, and this team's good enough to beat us. So let's buckle down and get a hold of the game plan and figure out what we have to do to win.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question, Rusty. I was going to ask him, tell us about Centreville, but you went right into it. I saw them play on Friday. They are a very, very, very good team.
Very good.
Very solid. And go ahead.
No, I was going to say, just like last night, I don't think the fact that, not that you didn't want to win or lose, whatever, but like now, I don't see anybody having any home court advantage because you guys packed that place last night too. Centerville's just as close. So now it's just, hey, we're all, this might as well be a neutral site game.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much home court advantage. It's not quite like it's one thing if we had to travel. Last year, we put Thomas Dale at Monacan. There was a distinct home court advantage because they spent 15 minutes on a bus and we spent 2.5 hours on a bus. And even if you get down there early and you walk around and you do all the things you can, we stopped on the way down at Randolph-Macon just to get off the bus and shoot around a little bit. I think the home court advantage in the state tournament, but going back to EJ's team, when I was a Patriot in the region quarterfinals, we had to play William Fleming. I was in a regional game. We went 4.5 hours for a game. That was in our region.
Yeah. That makes a difference.
Yeah. I think that's more of an advantage. I'm hoping that this will be more about which team plays better, which team executes better, which team, is able to kind of find a moment to shine in and then takes advantage of that. I'm hoping it's us.
Yeah. For those that don't know, there are the way the brackets are set up. You're in the bracket where you're playing Centerville, and the winner of your game will play Manchester Woodson. All right, so Manchester's the home team. Woodson had from Fairfax has to travel down there, and then Thomas Dale is traveling to play Robinson, and Osbourn Park is playing Oakton. Mm-hmm. Now, Oakton I think was a surprise, but if I'm not so Oakton and Centerville are from the same
Yeah,
district.
they're from that South Lakes, James Madison, and Madison.
Concord.
Yeah, they're
Concord.
from
Yeah.
that. It's a very good district too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So every team left, I mean, is strong, has excellent coaching. This is going to be fun. So at this point, I'm biased. I'll say it. Like, I want to see again, you all against Osbourn Park. I'll be right there on the media row, and I'll just be like this. Go have fun. I can't. I won't like Chris Jolly. He won't say when it's Northern Virginia teams. He won't pick a team. I sincerely I'm happy either way.
I'm that would thrill me because that would mean we were playing for a state title. So that would be pretty cool. The opportunity to do something like that with these kids would be amazing. But first things first, gotta beat Centreville.
Yeah.
Coach, what are the other? You guys are Prince William and Rusty. For all the Prince William fans, because we got some forums and a lot of people watch this from Prince William County. That other side of the draw that Osbourn Park is in and Thomas Dale's in. I know you're familiar with Thomas Dale. I believe you scrimmaged them or played them last year, but just give us a blurb on that, like what that's going to look like, what you know about that other side of the draw. Not as in you looking to play them, which you're going to hopefully do, but like, what do you know about those teams?
I mean, so Robinson, we play in their fall league. They have one of the better players probably in the state of Virginia. I think it's Georgia Simonson. I hope I'm saying that correctly. They're really well coached. They've got we play them fully. They got some scrappy kids that just play really hard to go with really good players. Thomas Dale is I haven't seen them in person. I've seen them on tape this year. Like, they're loaded. They're big.
Yeah.
The pressure is real. They've got two guards that can make shots from everywhere. That game will be interesting. OP is going to play Oakton, and Coach Priester's like a legend. I mean, he coached against my sister when she played at Osbourn Park in 1995.
Yeah.
I read somewhere, I think, then he just got like his 800th win.
800. Yep.
I mean, that guy has forgotten more basketball than I probably will ever know. So, and going up against Chrissy, who's the preeminent, should be the favorite for Virginia Coach of the Year every year. So, I think it just more speaks to the at this point, every team's got a stud. Every team is going to be well coached. Every team's got that other player that, like, you may not know about this player, but you better know about this player. Like, everybody's got somebody right now. So I don't envy any of the coaches, to include myself. I think everybody at this point is hard to prepare for. I think everybody at this point has an idea of what they can do, and it just comes down to kids doing the best they can in a big moment.
We've talked about last night. We've talked about what's coming up on Tuesday, but I want to know, how did we get here? And when I say how did we get here, let's learn a little bit more about you, Coach. Okay. Where you grew up? Because I was in that environment last night. I was sitting with Jay Golson, okay, Ruben Adams, and they were like, yeah, like he's at home, and his family, there are legends in here, and I'm like, oh, okay. And all right, but yeah, let's talk about you growing up, going to OP. Your dad coached a lot of sports there. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I tell people, like, I'm from here. I went to Osbourn Park. My whole family did. I'm one of four, so I went to OP. My dad coached at OP for over 30 years. The soccer field, so people call it a football field. In my family, that's a soccer field.
A pitch.
Yeah. The soccer field is it's Larry Nemerow Field, which is a cool thing. My sister played there. Dad and Becca are both in the Hall of Fame. So there's always like some homecoming feel. I remember for the district championship, we got there really early, and so my kids and me are walking around the lobby, and I'm showing them, like, look, here's a regional championship trophy. Like, those are Papa's. Like, my dad, like, that's Dad's teams.
Yeah.
So went to OP, injured all through high school, so no playing career or anything like that to talk about. Got some good men's league, like old man men's league numbers to talk about if you want on another podcast.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Came back, went to JMU, came home, and got my first coaching job at Woodbridge High School. Actually, I was on Will Robinson's staff. Spent a couple years with Will, and I went back to school to finish my degree because I didn't finish the first time, and was the president and coach of the men's club basketball team at JMU, which I honestly think was good lesson for me. Coaching peers was difficult, and while playing, that's just stupid. Then came back and bounced around a little bit. Got my first head coaching job at Brentsville in 2010. I was teaching there. I was in the building. I was already on the staff, and the head coach before me stepped down, and I had one really good year there. Patriot opened the next year. I opened Patriot as the boys coach. I had 5 years there, 5, 6 maybe. And then stepped down from that. It was hard, man. Opening a school, the article I just read Inside Nova, where Jason Johns was talking about stepping down at Colgan in the first 5 years, opening a school. But it's hard. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And the odds are stacked against you. It's I had really great kids as the boys coach at Patriot. But it was difficult. So I stepped down and had like a couple major back surgeries and a fourth kid. And Sherman and I had known each other for a while. And so I had it's funny. He and I talk openly about this. When he brought me on his staff, people were like, "You're gonna hire the guy that had the job before you to be on your staff? Isn't that weird?" And Sherman and I were both like, "No, it just wasn't weird." We are two dudes from different sides of this county, but very similar in how we think about the game and how we'd like to play it. And so those 3 years as Sherman's assistant were really good for me. I'm a better coach because of those 3 years. The way that it is not an accident that they defend the way they do. It's not just athletes. He is one of the best defensive coaches I've ever been in a room with. And so yeah, I spent some time there, and then Gainesville opened, and I moved there professionally for my day job, and had fully intended to stay at Patriot on Sherman's staff. That assistant coach life, I was digging it, man.
Right, I feel you. You.
And my oldest, I have 3 daughters and a son, but my oldest is a girl, and she was like, "Dad, are you going to apply for the girls' basketball job at Gainesville?" And I said, "No, baby." I spent 1 year as an assistant for my sister because she needed an assistant, and I was bouncing around a little bit. I couldn't find a staff that I fit on. I said, "Honey, nobody's hiring somebody who's coached boys for 18 years to coach a girl, like as a girls varsity basketball coach." But I'm a dad, and we dads do what dads do. So I did what my oldest daughter asked me to do, and I applied and got it.
Wow.
Yeah. And then it's funny. I remember it was such a different time when we were open. We were still, we couldn't get in the building until the week before school started. So we had no open gym. We had like that summer, no weight room, no nothing. I met players on Zoom. Like we met on a Zoom. Still all the COVID rules. We had masks in school, and all those things. And I remember telling them, I'm like, "Look, I'm not a girls basketball coach. I don't know what that is. Like, I'm a basketball coach." And I said, "And we're gonna play basketball. We're not gonna play girls basketball. We're gonna play basketball." And they bought into that immediately, and it's been like that since. I'm so lucky to have players and a staff that everybody's kind of on the same page as far as like we're going to try and play a certain kind of way. But yeah, it's a weird road to get there. But yeah, I never thought I would be a girls basketball coach, even though in the community, like yesterday at 3:15, my 4th, 5th grade team, we had a game because I'm coaching my 9-year-old's 4th, 5th grade team. It was funny that the game before us was Sherman. So Sherman and I are both coaching in regional championship games last night, and he's coaching at the elementary school cafeteria in one game, and then I'm the next game. And then later that night we're playing.
Coach, I got a question. I'm sorry. I had a question about what you just said about the difference because I went to Phoebus High School in Hampton, and Mike Talon has over 700 wins at Phoebus and Woodbridge, multiple state championships, Coach Lakeisha Frett. This is what he said about boys versus girls. He said that the X's and O's with girls is easier, but he said the personalities, the non-basketball part is harder. And he said with boys, the X's and O's are harder because they challenge you more, but their personalities away from basketball are easier. What's your comment on that?
I think that makes a lot of sense. I'll say this. There were certain things that we had to teach our girls that I've never had to teach boys. I remember that first year, all fall, when we're doing open gyms, we got them to play pickup. There's a huge lacking in pickup basketball in general. I mean, I remember being a kid,
Yeah.
you guys do, like on a nice spring or summer day, we drove around, found courts, and played pickup.
Yep.
That doesn't exist anymore. Everybody's got a trainer or they're in a gym somewhere.
Coach, if you watch the show, when I first moved to Princeton, I was always like, where do people hoop? Where do people hoop? Because when I to Alexandria and I first moved, I'm sorry to cut you, but I used to go ball in Arlington outdoor, and now kids, I'm like, all these, I still say this, like I said, look at that nice court with the hoop, the nets are clean. And I'm like, you have no idea.
I need these kids to feel the pain of, like, you got a nice ball, but the court you're playing at has chain nets, and you're like, oh,
yeah. Yes.
So we got them to play pickup, and they're playing pickup, and like somebody's like, is it a foul? And then they're like looking at us, and I'm like, we're not playing. Like, you guys, like it, because if somebody not in the game called a foul for a game going on, like, you get beat up for that. Like, you know. And I remember we got to the end of the fall season, like right before and there was an argument on the floor for about 15 minutes of whether or not it was game over over whether or not she had her toe on the line. And I remember looking at EJ. And I'm like, we did it. They're arguing over pickup, over games that don't matter. I think the X's and O's are harder with boys because there's more improv in the boys' game. It almost makes it hard for the girls' game too, a little bit. I feel like sometimes players will get so attached to, like, well, the play says to do this. And we really encourage our girls like that. If I call a play, if I call a set we run, and they want to break off that to do something else, do it. Like, do it all the time. Because all of them really are just ideas. I think the personality stuff, I'll say this, and I think this makes me a better coach, to be honest, and I think it would work with boys too. I explain why we do things way more. I think young women want to understand, and if they understand why we're doing what we want to do, the buy-in is way more evident. I remember, like, could you imagine in the world you grew up in, or I grew up in, a coach says, hey, we're going to come out in a 2-2-1 press tomorrow. And you're like, why? Like, a ball would fly by your head. You'd have to dodge it.
Exactly. Yes.
But we encourage our players, like, ask why. We want you to know why we're doing these things. And I think that's helped us a lot. I don't think the way that we're trying to play is that different, though. It's funny. I read a book a few summers before I even applied for the job by Malcolm Gladwell, and it's called David and Goliath. If you haven't read it, Malcolm Gladwell is a fantastic author. He talks about underdogs, and one of the chapters was all about girls basketball. And it was about this dad was watching these girls play, and he didn't understand why in the girls' game, after a made basket or a turnover or a missed basket, they would run back to the other side and get inside the three-point line and wait for the other team. And he didn't understand why they're surrendering the first 75% of the floor. And that really resonated with me as a father of daughters, of watching a lot of girls basketball. I'm like, I remember saying to myself, if I ever got the chance to coach girls, I'm pressing everybody.
Yep. I read that same book, and I coached my daughter. Now I played football and basketball, but I remember coaching my daughter's, like, 5- and 6-year-old soccer team, and I was like, I'm applying my principles. We're going to pressure them, and we're going to just physical. Like, these are, and some of the girls on my team went on to be really good players. But go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm the same way. I'm like, I read that book, and I was the same way. Yeah.
And that's kind of the point that I made to our girls in that very first Zoom meeting. I was like, I don't know what a girls basketball coach is. I'm a basketball coach. I know that, and so we've tried really hard to play a certain kind of way. But I get what Coach is saying about, the difference between boys and girls, and there certainly are some, but I think what we've tried to do is try to create an environment where we're going to be basketball players, not girls basketball players.
What year did you get out of Osbourn Park?
I graduated in '96.
Talk about because we know Rusty, but I know too through you, all the people I met through you, a lot of Prince William. You played with a lot of coaches, and talk about when you played back then, like what it was like, and some of the players that you played against. We'll give you a trip down memory lane.
It's more guys that I knew. I was tiny in high school. I'm about 6'5" now, and my freshman year I was 5'2". I didn't weigh 100 pounds. I was tiny. So I actually, ironically, I spent more time my junior and senior year. I had two major injuries. I missed basketball, but I wrote for what was then the Potomac News, which is now Inside Nova. So I worked for Dave Fawcett as a journalist.
Oh wow,
Yeah,
cool.
It's kind of cool.
Cool.
The biggest thing that I remember, man, is that I remember my sophomore year, I made the AAU team. And when I say the AAU team, I mean there was one. There was one Prince
there was
William.
one, right?
And the A team was like guys like Mookie and Roland, Roberts, like guys from Potomac. It was just a team full of dudes.
Yep.
And I more remember that part of it. I think we've done, and some of it is the size of the county. I mean, I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but I'm sure the population size in Prince William County from 1995 or 6 to now is, I mean, it's got to be quintupled.
I think so. Yeah.
So I understand that there's more teams now. I do think we've lost a little bit in the competitive nature of basketball in the county, as far as there's a million teams now. And I think it's good. It's important to grow the game, and I want more kids playing than not. I think it's sad where we've gotten to a state where, there's not a single Prince William County high school team, girls team, that has a freshman team, which is crazy to me. I mean, we're over 2,500 students almost, and we can't field a freshman team. We don't have the players. But there's got to be a happy medium in between, like a million AAU teams and everybody plays and everybody makes it and everything. And then probably when we were kids, of like there was one team and you were either one of the best in the county, or you were on the B team, or you got cut. I more remember that there were some awesome players back then. I mean, being around. Even being at OP last night, like Billy Fields' numbers retired. I know Billy. Billy and I've played in a men's league together. I've been on some teams with some of those guys, just still floating around in neighborhoods and stuff. But
Coach, I got to get you and Chris Jolly. Now you're not 50 yet, but we're going to have to find like a league that you're eligible for and run folks, because Chris got game. Chris Jolly, I was a late bloomer, because once I went to college, I didn't focus on 3 sports like football, basketball. I'm going to the gym and we're balling. Like my game got a bunch better.
I more remember the years, in my high school years, Woodbridge and Garfield back then and Potomac were just such powerhouses. The east side of the county. We had Hollis Johnson was a peer of mine. Hollis passed away a few years ago. Torrey Farrington was a year older than me. Torrey was an incredible player. Played 3 years at Stonewall and now Unity Reed, and then finished at Woodbridge and went on to play at Hampton, I believe. Torrey, I remember Torrey signing autographs after middle school games. Like Torrey can go. I'm not even playing. We're at Marsteller, old Marsteller, and he's like, people are I'm like, this is crazy. I think it's awesome how much basketball has grown in the community. I do think it's cool that we still have guys that are tied from back then. Sherman last night going to Potomac, where he's a pretty big deal, and winning a regional championship there. Like, I think that's good. It's good to have people who have either left and come back, or who have never left, that kind of remember the roots of the community and stuff, to kind of keep those storylines going.
Oh yeah. No, that's good stuff. Really good. So I do want to ask you now. I know you just talked about your playing career, talked about your family, but who were some of the influences or in your life growing up? And it could be someone directly, that you could see, touch, feel, or it could be somebody that you saw off, like a Larry Bird or something. But who made impacts in your life?
I mean, the biggest ones are going to be my parents. I'm a teacher coach family product. My mom taught at the middle school I went to. My dad taught and coached at the high school I played for my dad. Played soccer for my dad. It's hard to, and I'm lucky to have done so. It's to have a family that I have, that, my older sister was a elementary school and then high school teacher, and now a Division I college basketball coach. One of my brothers is he's currently the boys soccer coach at Gainesville. Before that, he was at Battlefield and he's played in he's coached in state championship games. My youngest brother is an elementary school teacher and a robotics coach. Even in that vein, like getting into the coaching game, like just when my family gets together for dinner, the amount of positive influence, like I don't have to, I have people in my life that I can ask coaching questions to. Sure, like I said, Sherman and I talk a lot. I have friends that I've known for years, but to be able to just go in the family group chat and be like, hey, somebody got something for me. We got a big game tonight.
They're helpful, but are you all competitive? How was it growing up? Now, because my brother and I, like we do that, like we talk about, but like growing up, it was like,
No, listen, growing up, especially I was undersized. So growing up, my sister's a year and a half older than me. My sister beat the crap out of me in every
yes,
in every sport, and like she was like, God, if I could just beat Becca. But like the moment I start growing a little bit, then I can beat her. And then she's the older sister and like the oldest. Like she just changed the rules. And I'm like, she changed the rules. Like,
right.
I still don't think I've beat her in one-on-one, and she's 5'6". No, it was a competitive house. We all played everything. I will say that one of my other the first 2 years that I was at Woodbridge, Chad Anderson, who's at Potomac now.
Yeah, Chad. Yeah,
Chad was on staff. James West, who was the head coach at Freedom for a long time. James and I
was that his son, an assistant at OP that I saw last night?
And number five is his daughter.
Oh, I didn't. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I coached the fourth. I mean, I didn't coach. I refed some of his middle school games.
Yeah.
And then high school. But I remember him in like 7th grade killing people. I was like, who is this kid? And then they go, oh, yeah, he's ranked one of the top 7th grade. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so I mean, James and I got our start at Woodbridge with Will together. I'll tell you a funny story. The things we do when we're 22 and we want to be a coach. That year, that was back then in the single AA, AAA times, and Will already knew the matchups for the regions, and we were pretty good. And so he says to me and James, he's like, "Listen, I need you guys to go scout our potential regional matchup." And we're like, "Okay." Where do we need to go? And he was like, well, we're going to play Cave Spring probably. They got this kid, JJ Reddick. The game is on Tuesday at 7. I'd like you to go scout. So on a weekday night, Will sends me and James to Cave Spring on a Tuesday. We had to call ahead and let them know we were coming because that gym was tiny and JJ Reddick was, he was 3 times. So they knew we were coming, so we didn't get like fire marshal, like not allowed in the building.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm pretty sure, guys, forever ago, but I'm pretty sure he sent us back. The scouting report wasn't good enough. But James and I are 22 years old. We're not married. Neither one was married, no kids. And I was like, yeah, we'll go. You want me to drive to Roanoke on a Tuesday? Sure. Got you, coach.
Right. That's funny. That is funny. Oh, man.
No, Will was a big influence on me.
Yeah.
I do stuff still in practice that I saw Will do. But like, that side of the county at that time, man, like you had Will Robinson, Andy Gray, and Kendall Hayes. If you were in the gym, whether you were with them or against them, if you were in the gym with those dudes and you didn't learn something just by watching, you were messing up. I mean, there's stuff. We run an inbounds play that Sherman ran when he played at Potomac because Kendall's been running it, and I love it. I do stuff that in practice that Andy, I'd sit next to Andy Gray while I'm scouting in a gym somewhere. I've got all my gear on. Andy would always come in like incognito, like he just came out the woods hunting or something. But those guys were just basketball encyclopedia to be around them.
And their trees have just the people. I mean, so Troy Washington, he's an assistant principal at your school. Troy and I went to college together at VCU, but I remember when he was an assistant at Garfield, but then he opened Cattle Run as the boys basketball coach.
Troy and I used to scrimmage each other all the time because we had known each other for a while from when he was at Garfield and I was at Woodbridge.
Yeah. So we could do this all day. So, but what we want to do is let's let the folks know a little bit more about you, not just Coach, but just Daniel. Listen, what's Daniel all about? This dude. All right. And I'll let Kirk go ahead and get some of that started. But before we do that, Kirk, and I know we're a little bit late into the show, but tell folks where they can find us.
Yep. Please subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter at the Kirk and Byrd. We know Coach Nemerow. He's subscribed and probably done it in 5 different accounts. And then if you want to see us on any other platforms, just Google us. And then we are promoting a Facebook forum because Rusty and I go on some forums that have 10,000 people on. So it's the 703-540 Nova High School Sports page. Click on that, join us. I'm plopping a lot of basketball content on there. And yeah, we enjoy doing this, but we also work pretty hard on it. Rusty does a great job editing our videos. Coach Nemerow saw us getting ready. We don't have a production crew, and my other computer was locked up, and microphone issues and all that.
Hey, if we're gonna put out a bloopers one day, and it's gonna just be Kirk going, and it's gonna just be blurp. But yeah, so make sure and I love what Coach Overton does is he always goes like, subscribe, and follow the Kirk and Byrd Show. So there you go. Oh, speaking of real quick, did he do an amazing job? I know you guys played them.
Yeah.
In the region. He did an amazing job this year. I saw them a couple of times.
He's one of the guys that like I talk about. We've had a really good year, and there's a couple times where we've beat teams by a big number, and it's not lost on me that these are kids, and that's hard for me, being honest. And I've been on the other side of those. I remember, God, one year at Patriot, we played Robinson back when they were big time in boys. Yeah. They scored 100 and beat us by 50. And I remember, it was awful. But but anyway. I had kind of a different perspective on some of the scores of his games maybe than some people. And I think it's simply this, is that we work really hard to get these kids to play really hard. I'm never going to tell my girls not to play hard. I'll stop pressing and I'll sub and I'll do all those things. But I'm never going to tell my kids not to play hard. And I shared that story with him because I wanted him to know, because I understand he's coaching there. I hear. But that he's going to stay on as the girls' coach. But I didn't know that at the time, so I wanted to share that with him. He's not just a football guy, guys. I watched a lot of film on them. Like, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
And we played them last year in regionals too, and my feeling was the same then. Like, he knows the game, he knows what he's doing, and not surprisingly, his kids. I'm pretty sure if he was like, that wall, go run through it, they'd be like, how many times?
Yes.
They just play so hard. So yeah, I mean, he did a fantastic job, and I think it's an awesome thing for that school that he was able to, their first girl, if I'm understanding correctly, their first girls championship of any kind,
any sport. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So congrats to them. They did a great year. But yeah, he does a great job.
So Coach, you've got 3 girls and a boy. You got 4 kids. Where does the boy fall?
He's the baby.
Okay, so I'm the youngest. And
Yeah.
I had older sisters. So were you drowning in the female estrogen in that house before your son came?
There's a lot of pink and purple. There's a lot of princess dresses. But it's funny. My girls are all. I tell people, especially my oldest was like this for the longest time. That my girls are like both. If you've seen Remember the Titans, you have like the one daughter who's like kind of like princessy, and then you have the other daughter who's like a mini coach. All my girls kind of drive in both lanes at the same time sometimes. Like you want to go get pedicures, Dad, and like have like a boba tea, or do you want to sit down and watch this game and these dunk highlights? Like, what do you want?
Cool.
He's spoiled, man. It's funny. We ran a camp last year and it was all girls. Because I thought it was important to. I wanted to, having girls, a lot of times these summer camps, these fundamentals camps that schools put on, it'll be like 60 boys and like 12 girls. And the 12 girls kind of get like pushed off a little bit, not on purpose, it just kind of happens. I wanted to run a camp where it was just girls. And Noah is in the gym, and I don't think he realizes that it's a girls' camp because his whole life is just him surrounded by his sisters, and basketball and all these things. So, yeah, it's just the world he lives in.
How old are your kids again, Coach?
I've got so Michaela, who plays for us, she's a junior. She's 16, almost 17, 11, 9, and 6.
Oh, cool.
Costco. I got it.
Yeah.
So what do you all do as a family? What do you like to do now? One of the questions we asked, because I know that COVID year, I had Netflix, but I didn't really get into it until I'm working at home and the whole family, we're all stuck in the house. And I got 3 kids, Kirk's got 3 kids. But I started watching like Tiger King, and then it was over. From there, I'm watching everything. Do you all as a family, or do you like to stream or watch stuff together outside of basketball? Or is this the family that when you do get together, you're watching Last Chance U, the basketball version? You're breaking down film. You guys are playing
at my parents' house. At my parents' house, when we're all together, there's a game on. I don't know what game it is, but there's a game on. My kids, my family's pretty big. We're big like Avengers, comic stuff. We're into that.
Oh yeah.
We do it. We cook a lot. It's funny. I think sort of this like coaching and sports lifestyle, there's so many times where it's a snack bar dinner kind of night and you're out and about, that when we are home, we cook. We spend a lot of time in the kitchen together. So because of that, there'll be like Food Network on and like, things like that. But no, we're busy. Basketball season ends and it just means soccer season starts. So just roll from one to the next. The kids are all of an age where they're active and doing stuff. But no, there's a lot of discussion over the best Avenger. There's a lot of discussion.
Oh yeah, and okay, okay. So that's a question we ask sometimes too. Now, if you could be a superhero or have a superpower, who would you be?
So this was a legit. I'm 45 years old. I'm a mature adult with a job. I feel like I've been pretty successful, and I was in a legitimate argument with my son the other day where he was trying to explain to me that Green Lantern could beat Superman. And I'm telling you, I don't know. Like, I know it's a lighthearted thing, but I wanted to sit him down like, son.
No, I'm sure he had some good points.
He was trying to make points. I'm like, son, I need you to not say this in public. People are going to think we're raising you wrong. Like, but he was trying to make a legit, like, come on. Then we have the argument of like, is Batman a superhero? Yeah, like, no, Batman's just rich.
He's rich. Yeah, him and Iron Man. Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, no.
So good. Hold on. So give me at least one of your son's legitimate points about the Green Lantern against Superman.
Is that because he's got the Green Lantern ring and he can make anything, he could make something that would defeat Superman. He could make
kryptonite. Oh, see, I'm feeling that. That's a good point. Okay, so who is your superhero though? Are you saying your favorite is Superman? Would you be Superman?
I like DC. I'm more of a Marvel guy. I'm a big Iron Man guy. I just and it's funny because it's almost hypocritical because I don't know that Iron Man's a superhero either because anybody can be in the suit.
No, he's Batman. He's just Batman.
He's Marvel's Batman. Batman. Yeah. I dig the storyline of Iron Man. I really do, just because of not everything was perfect, right? Like not everything went his way. I actually really like that. I feel like a low-key storyline in Iron Man 3 is that he suffered from anxiety issues, and mental health was like a part of that movie of like how he deals with that. He's got everything, right? He's rich, he's a superhero, he's got the girlfriend, all these things, and he's having like moments of anxiety where he can't breathe. I thought that was cool that they did that so that we can see that like, look, everybody's got something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's cool. Oh, so Kirk, hold on. Kirk, who would you, in terms of if you had a superhero? I think you've said it before, but who would you be?
I'm not as big into Marvel as most people, but I would say it's between Spider-Man and probably Superman, because I'm big into flying. You always want the superpower, so I'm big into flying. So yeah.
After watching some of the latest movies, now it's Thor. But growing up, and I kind of have like the Green Lantern argument. My favorite superhero was Aquaman. Now, I'm sure you can find some limitations in my skill set of superpowers being Aquaman, but I don't know if you may be a little too young, but we used to have the Super Friends on Saturday morning. And I used to watch Super Friends, and I was like, yo, Aquaman is cool. I know he's limited, but Aquaman is the man in water. Like at my home court, nobody, bruh. If I'm in the water, I'm the man. So and then when they made the Aquaman movies recently, I was trying to explain to my kids, like, Dad, this is whack. Like, no, like this Aquaman is whack, Dad.
Yeah. Saturday morning cartoons, man. These kids don't even know they pull up cartoons on their phone. They don't even know that.
I know.
Let's go into this because there's certain things people like to talk about. Everybody. This is a very multicultural area, but I always say music, food, cinema are all a peek into someone's soul, and you can talk about it. So, Coach Nemerow, it's 11 o'clock at night. All the restaurants are closed. Fast food go-to. Boom. What is it?
Oh, man. It's probably McDonald's. It's hard for me to get away from, like, it's McDonald's. It's the best.
Second question. This is a fun one. Best fries.
I'm still going with McDonald's.
No!
It's McDonald's. When McDonald's fries are fresh, they're the best.
Yeah. Don't tell me Chick-fil-A either. Don't do that.
Those waffle fries, those are not fries.
Chick-fil-A's good, but I'm going with Checkers.
Arby's. That is a good call with Arby's.
Or Arby's curly fries. McDonald's, you're just brainwashed because you've gone there your whole life. Okay, because before there were other good places. Because Roy Rogers and Hardee's doesn't really exist. Nobody could afford the Wendy's big triple burger that you wanted back in the day, right? Right, and McDonald's, even to this day, I don't want to go, but they have the best deals on my app. So, I
read something recently where literally, you know how people are like the Coke just tastes better at McDonald's. I read an article recently where it is literally Coke bottles it differently for McDonald's than they do for anyone else.
I totally believe that with the consumption of all that.
Yeah. I believe that.
Listen, I'm in my mid-40s. I know what I like. McDonald's. It might be trained and ingrained. It might just be trained and ingrained, but it's in there.
They got you. Okay. I'm Taco Bell. Because when I was in college, back in the day, in the summer when I didn't have a meal plan and I was still on campus, it was like, all right, let's go to Taco Bell, bro. That we could get so many tacos in the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
All right, so cool. All right, so before we close out, Kirk, you got any last very interesting questions for Coach?
Of course. Coach, peek into your soul is your music. No, we are your elders. We're about 10 years older than you. So we grew up, before us, there was R&B, right? R&B and soul. There was no really hip-hop. So we came up and
we grew up with hip-hop.
But hip-hop is mainstream now. Kids don't realize that when that stuff was cutting edge. So I always say that music is a flash into your soul and who you are. Y'all don't have to do this, but I do this sometimes with people just to talk about things. Get your Spotify, get your Pandora, right? Get all your likes. I've got over 1,000, and then put it on shuffle and name the first 5 songs. For me, it's Runner on Empty by Jackson Browne, Midnight Rider by Allman Brothers. This is making me sound like a 70s rock guy.
Yes.
Ring My Bell by Anita Ward, 5 Minutes of Funk, Houdini, Instant Karma by John Lennon.
I'll tell you, here's why I'm not answering. Because my kids have my music account. So mine would be nothing but like
Hannah Montana,
Taylor Swift. It would be like the Trolls soundtrack. It would be like all those things. I need like a separate music account just for mine. I'm seasonal, I feel like, with my music. In winter during basketball, I'm a hip hop guy. I'm a West Coast rap Tupac. I'm in there. In the summer, I'm country, or I like Hootie. I like stuff like that.
He's on tour again, by the way. Hootie's coming.
He's coming here.
There's a couple of guys in his band are from here, and they went to South Carolina. First concert, by the way, do you remember?
My first concert was in, oh God, it was Tom Petty, but it was Tom Petty at Nissan Pavilion, which is
I was gonna say in your backyard.
Bro. Yeah, literally in our backyard. We had to move a football game this year because there was a concert.
I did it. I called one of the first games of the year and the concert was going on, and I'm like, we could hear it, during the game.
Yeah.
Wow. So, Coach, you have been so this is what I was talking about. Like, we could do this forever. I'm so glad we had you on. So we got to get you back because this was easy. Like, this is what I wasn't having to pull. Like, we could do this all day. Now, I hope you keep winning, but if you don't, then I'm also going to look forward to sitting beside you in the game. No, I'm just let's go to a Gainesville baseball game, and we'll enjoy it because you'll have your state championship, and it's going to be fun. And this was a lot. This was really, really cool.
I appreciate it, guys. I'm in all seriousness, I think part of our responsibility as high school coaches is to grow the game in the community. And I think that anytime we can shine a light on the tremendous basketball that's being played by the girls in the county, in this community, is a good thing for our program. It's a good thing for 10-year-old girls that want to be basketball players when they grow up. It's a good thing. So I appreciate the attention and the time.
Oh yeah. And I agree.
Rusty, for a plug, I'm sorry. We are recording later tonight all of VHSL Class 6 boys and girls.
There we go.
We're going to have a preview on this episode. Probably going to come out before then, Rusty. We'll figure that out. But check that out. And the reason why, going along with what you just said, is I've been talking to people all day, and I talked to South Lakes boys, Mike Desmond. And here's how the thing goes full circle, Rusty. You're going to appreciate this. When I was a single guy, before I had kids and moved out to Loudoun County because I could not afford Reston, had a condo there, I adopted South Lakes. I was in the South Lakes gym for the first time in like 30 years. Guess who I was watching play back then? Coach Desmond. I was watching him run around and things like that. So that's how the game, comes full circle and things like that. Because, give it 4 more years, your players, these young ladies that you're coaching, who could be on the cusp of, a 3-game winning streak, they're going to be in situations like this. And that's why the game and keeping it, positive and keeping people playing. It's a great time of year, and, we hope to see you in Richmond.
Listen, I hope to see you guys there too. Not sitting next to you.
Right.
Yeah.
Preston was on the other side.
Yeah.
We sit across from you.
That'd be awesome.
Across from you. Yeah, good stuff. Hey, well, look, thanks again, Coach. This has been a lot of fun. And so we look forward to, doing this much more often. So, Coach, if there's any last things you comments or anything you want to plug or anybody want to give a shout out to?
No, I appreciate it, guys. I'm grateful for the attention, like I said, for the program and for the girls. Our players do a really good job. We ask a lot of them. And I think high school sports, I'm appreciative of these kinds of things. I think high school sports are different in a lot of ways than college and professional. It's where it's at its purest. These kids are not doing it for money or gear or fame or attention. They're literally doing it because they're playing a game that they love with kids they grew up with for the most part. It's I think the purest form of athletics. So I appreciate the time and attention.
Oh, yeah. All right. So, look, for Coach Nemerow, my co-host, Kirk Hilliard, and for me, the coolest guy in Prince William County, this has been the Kirk and Byrd Show. We're out.